Hello and welcome to the second video of Introduction to Rigging series. In this one, we are going to discuss about Maya's joints. Joints are absolutely important to every rig. You can't have a rig without joints. So it's really important to understand this stuff because if you don't understand how joints works, nothing else gonna work for you. So joints can be found under the skeleton menu and this menu is underneath the animation menu set. So let's start with creating some joints. Creating joint is easy. You just have to click where you want the joint, reset the settings, and click, click, and press enter to finish the joint chain. So Maya will automatically orient the joint in XYZ axis. So this is the leg chain, and Maya automatically orients it by default in XYZ axis. So in joint tools option box, there is the joint orientation settings, and it says primary axis is X and secondary axis is Y. That means X is my twisting axis. So if I, oh sorry, just I'll be back in 2 minutes. So here we have the leg joint chain, and by default it's oriented in x-axis. So if you want to change the local rotation axes after you create the joint chain, because sometimes animator will follow the yzx or zxy, those kind of local rotation axes, or your production house will follow the different local orientations. So it's easy to change the local rotation axes. You just have to go to the skeleton menu set, and there is the orient joint option. In orient joint, if I reset the setting, and then there is a xyz is a default one. If I said y is my primary axis, and if I say apply, so it automatically changes the local rotation axes. So now x is not my primary axis, it's y is my primary axis now. If you check that, so y is my twisting axis. And if I go back to the reset, if I reset the setting and if I apply it, oh sorry, if I go, I have just select the joint in object mode and apply it. So now if I check it again, so now x is my twisting axis. So local rotation axes are actually important to the animation, and we follow the same local rotation axis for the whole character or the rig setup. Because if your animator is working for games, suppose, and he wants to copy the animation cycle from right hand to the left hand, then you must need the same local rotation axes, otherwise it won't copy properly. So that's about the local rotation axis. Second important thing is IK and FK. So just close it and we'll discuss about the IK and FK. So IK and FK. What is IK and what is FK? FK stands for the forward kinematics and IK stands for the inverse kinematics. So let me duplicate the joint chain first and move it aside. I want to use one for the IK and second one for the FK. So we start with the FK. What is mean by FK, which is the forward kinematics? If I select the joint chain, and if I rotate a joint, all the primary axes are all the child joints are following the parent joint. If I select the knee joint and if I rotate it, all joints from ankle, toe and ball are following the knee joint, but my thigh is not affecting. That means in forward kinematics, movement or rotation goes in a forward direction. The child joint follows the orientation of the parent joint. That's why it's called the forward kinematics. And in inverse kinematic, if I create a IK handle, it doesn't matter which IK handle we are using, and if I apply it from thigh to the ankle and if I move it, so it's moving. When I move the IK handle, it rotates the joint chain. And if I select the child joint, which is the knee joint. And if I check the rotation of the z axis, it's somewhere around 66 degree. And if I select the thigh joint, it's somewhere around the 26 degrees. That means the thigh joint, which is the parent joint, is rotating in offset of the knee joint. That means the parent is following the rotation of the child joint. That means movement is going in a opposite direction, in an inverse direction. That's why it's called the inverse kinematics. So for in forward kinematics, the child joints are following the rotation of the parent joint, but in inverse kinematic, parent joint will follow the rotation of the child joint. So that's the major difference between the IK and the FK. FKs are mainly used to animate something like arcs, and IKs are mainly used to animate where we want to show the force, like we are hitting something, we are punching something. So that's the IK and that's the FK. So in next video we are going to discuss about the characteristic and the anatomical human anatomical structures.